The Washington Wizards finished last season with 17 wins. 17. The worst record in the NBA, at 17-65. 3 seasons, 50 total wins. That's it. And then everything changed in 6 months. They won the lottery.
With the first pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select AJ Dybantsa Jr. from Brigham Young University.
They took AJ Dybantsa first overall. They gave Trae Young $212 million, and they traded for Anthony Davis. So are the Wizards finally back? Let's break it down. To understand where the Wizards are going, you have to understand where they've been. 3 seasons, 50 total wins. That's not a rebuild. That's a burial. And it was intentional. Washington owed a top 8 protected first-round pick to the Knicks. Finish outside the top 8, and the pick was gone. Finish in the bottom 3, and they kept it. So they tanked. Hard. They played rookies heavy minutes. They lost on purpose. And it worked. They kept the pick. They won the lottery. For the first time since John Wall in 2010, the Wizards had the #1 pick. AJ Dybantsa. 6'9", 19 years old, 25.5 points per game at BYU, 6.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He led the entire nation in scoring. As a freshman, his 894 points were the 3rd most by a freshman in the history of Division I basketball. And he was the first Big 12 freshman to open his career with 13 straight double-digit games since Trae Young in 2017. Then, in December, he did something no freshman had ever done in the Big 12. 33 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. A triple-double, the first ever by a freshman in Big 12 history. And the youngest 30-point triple-double in the history of college basketball. Here's why he fits in Washington. He doesn't need the ball to score. He can play off Trae Young. He can attack closeouts. And he can actually defend. This isn't a project. It's a two-way wing with all NBA potential on day one. Now, let's talk about the money. Washington traded for Trae Young in January. CJ McCollum and Kyle Kuzma went to Atlanta. Then, in the offseason, they gave him a 4-year, $212 million contract. $53 million a year. And here's the uncomfortable part. He barely played. Just 15 games all season across both teams, and only 5 of them in a Washington jersey. A quad contusion, an MCL sprain. The Wizards committed $212 million to a player they've barely watched. But here's why they did it. He's a 4-time All-Star, over 25 points and close to 10 assists a night for his career. He makes everyone around him better. Alex Sarr is about to get the best lob passes of his life. Anthony Davis is about to get the easiest looks of his career. And the alternative was letting him walk for nothing. Here's the part nobody's talking about. Young is 27, entering his prime. Dybantsa is 19. The timelines actually line up. This isn't a win-now move. It's a win-soon move. Then there's Anthony Davis. Washington got him from Dallas in February, and he has never played a single minute for the Wizards. Not one. A ligament injury in his left hand, then a groin injury. He played just 29 games all season, all of them for Dallas, before the trade. He's making $58 million next season, with a $62.7 million player option down the line. He's 33 years old. He's been hurt for most of his career. And he is still, when healthy, one of the 20 best players alive. 24 points, 10 rebounds, more than 2 blocks a night for his career. The talent was never the question. The question is whether he ever steps on the floor. So Washington bought insurance. DeAndre Ayton, the #1 pick from 2018. They got him from the Lakers for Jaden Hardy and 2 future second-rounders. That's almost nothing. And Ayton just played 72 games, 12.5 points, 8 rebounds, 67% from the field. 67. He's 28, he's healthy, on an $8 million expiring deal. If Davis can't play, the Wizards still have a starting center. And then there's Khris Middleton. Washington traded him to Dallas in February. 5 months later, they brought him back, a 6-team sign and trade. 3 years, $17.6 million. He's 34. He's not an all-star anymore, but he's a champion. He's a shooter. And he's the exact veteran you want, next to a 19-year-old rookie. Here's where it gets interesting. Alex Sarr, 16.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, 2 blocks. Kyshawn George, 14.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Bilal Coulibaly, an elite perimeter defender. Tre Johnson, a pure shooter. Every single one of them is 22 or younger. The Wizards have 9 players drafted in the last 3 years. 9! That's not a rebuild anymore. That's a stockpile. But there are real questions. Davis is the biggest one. If he's healthy, Washington has one of the best front courts in the East. If he's not, they have $58 million sitting on the bench. They can trade him. They can keep him. But they can't wait forever. The second question is defense. And this one is worse than you think. Last season, the Wizards didn't just have a bad defense. They had the worst defense in the entire NBA. A 122.7 defensive rating. Dead last. They gave up more assists per game than any team in the league. And their new franchise point guard is one of the worst defenders in basketball. Davis, Sarr, Coulibaly, and Dybantsa can hide him. But can they hide him enough? So what does opening night actually look like? Trae Young at point guard, Bilal Coulibaly at the 2, AJ Dybantsa on the wing, Anthony Davis at power forward, Alex Sarr at center. And off the bench, DeAndre Ayton, Khris Middleton, Kyshawn George, Tre Johnson. That is a real rotation. For the first time in years. But not everyone is buying it. When the Young deal leaked, one national insider said there wasn't an intellectually sane argument for that contract. That's the case against Washington. $212 million for a defensive liability who played 15 games. $58 million for a 33-year-old who played 0 for his new team. 2 of the 3 biggest salaries on this roster belong to players nobody has seen healthy in Washington. And that's the whole story. The Wizards won 17 games last year. They could win 35, maybe 40. They have stars. They have youth. They have depth. What they don't have is proof. Are they back? Not yet. But for the first time in a decade, they're not trying to lose. Where do you have them finishing in the East? Drop your take in the comments. And subscribe, because this story is just getting started.
Trae off the